It wants to, it tells me to turn my phone, which is kind of aggravating. But I think I got enough lights in here. Is it bright, Tracy? Tracy is watching from the other room, and she says the lights are hurting her eyes. So um, I think I learned a lesson on my lights. It's a little bit bright. Or just, yeah, move them back actually. That would be good. All right, sorry y'all. This is still a learning in process. You see I got my sponsor shirt on. That's good. That's good right there. And then this other one over here. Robinson paint, equipment paint. And then my hat here, Crow equipment, Scott Crow. But anyway, if y'all don't know me, my name is David Hamm, and I'm a NASCAR engine builder and a former jackman, but I've been a NASCAR engine builder for about 25 years now. My first NASCAR season was in 1994. I came into about halfway through the season. Hello, Happy Scratcher. Thanks for tuning in. And then I've been building engines ever since, so about 25 years. Thanks, Greg. And yeah, Tracy says, Happy Scratcher, you need to subscribe to her channel. That's I am DHammiam, and she does a lot of the scratching. So she's the scratch expert. I'm just the engine builder, and I like to put on the scratching videos and stuff because I like watching her do that too. She does a good job at it. But anyway, we're going to do a NASCAR chat live Q&A. We got some people on here watching and asking questions online, and I think Tracy's going to read them off to me so I can answer your questions. And we're going to talk about the Clash race that we just had last week. We're going to talk a little bit about that one, but we're going to talk mostly about the big one, the Daytona 500. And that was a big one, and there was a lot of wrecks. There was a lot of cars tore up in that race. I think probably more than I've ever seen. More cars got tore up in that race. It was pretty much what you could call a wreck fest. Try to get my phone to stay somewhere. So let me know in the comments what y'all think about the race and how many, all that carnage in the wreck fest. And Tracy said, since I'm drinking coffee, then I'm really going to be hot even more. And she's right. So anyway, let's get right into it. So the race was the Advanced Auto Parts Clash. I got to get used to that because I'm so used to always saying the Busch Clash. And you know what? I meant to bring my my belt buckle. Tracy, you know where my belt buckle is? In that top drawer in the bathroom. And I was going to show you my belt buckle from 1994 Busch. The Busch Clash is what it used to be known as. And so anyway, we had the Clash race, and you probably saw how Jimmie Johnson ended up winning that race. That was a so you know, it come down to the hey Paul, it came down to the yeah, I know this coffee's really good, Leah. And come down to the last race, to the last lap where the rain was coming, the rain was headed in, and then Jimmie Johnson, I believe he said, you know what, I'm going to win this race no matter what. So he got up to the back corner fender of Paul Menard, and maybe took the air off, maybe put a little bit of a fender to him. You know, who knows. So that's the way that ended. And we know how the caution came out when the rain came, and they called the race. Jimmie Johnson won. So I think NASCAR was probably pretty happy with that one. I know the Hendrick organization was happy about that. So thank you. I need something. There's nothing in it. Oh my goodness, my wife. I tell you what, she's a piece of work. She gives me an empty container. So here, give it to me upside down. She's killing me. All right, so right here, if you can see that, that's from the 1994 Busch Clash. And it's silver. That's a big old belt buckle right there. Stand up and put it at my waist. See, I guess show a little bit of right there. give you an idea. All right. So I got a little bit of the sniffles. My granddaughter come over. Turns out she had the flu, but I don't think I got that. But you know how the weather has just been crazy. It's been one day it'll be 30 something degrees and the next day it'll be 65 or 70. But this belt buckle was made by the Montana Silversmiths. And that's the case it came in. Again, 1994 Busch Clash. Kyle Petty used to run really good at Daytona back in the day. So anyway, that was the end of that race that Jimmy Johnson won. It was just pretty much a wreck fest there at the end. Kind of like the last wreck at Daytona there, or the big wreck, where it took out a lot of cars. I didn't list out every single car that it took out, but it took out, yeah, she set me up all right, Leah. So anyway, the Daytona 500, the finishing order, top five, was Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Joey Logano, and Michael McDowell. And, you know, we pretty much went back to work today. And, of course, I built engines for Fords. And, you know, everybody was kind of a little bit somber because, you know, we didn't win. It's one thing in racing whenever you're used to not winning and then you don't win. It's just kind of like, oh, well, you know, we didn't win again. But in our case, we're used to winning. And we're used to winning the Daytona 500. And we didn't win this year. So it's a little disappointing. There was a lot of somber faces and stuff. A lot of people were asking the question, what happened? Why did, let's see, who was Michael McDowell? Maybe Michael McDowell could have went with Joey Logano and helped push him to the front. But I guess his response was he's not there. His owner doesn't pay him to push Joey Logano to the front. He pays him to win races. So I've heard that from different drivers in the past. So, I mean, you know, nothing you can do about it now. Denny Hamlin won, and then Kyle Busch finished second, and Eric Jones finished third. So, you know, good for them. J.D. Gibbs passed away a couple weeks ago. So, you know, that was, see, Beerman sent, I talked to Beerman a little bit ago, and he said that his wife Jenna had a picture that showed Denny Hamlin's car sitting there, and it had clouds in the background, and it looked like a J.D. in the clouds, which was kind of neat, you know. So I guess it worked out the way it should have for this year. But, you know, it's a disappointing whenever a Ford doesn't win. But, hey.
Rachel wants to know why they're not big ones in the previous decades.
Why they're not big what? Wrecks?
Mm-hmm.
Big wrecks?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just because the cars are just running so tight to each other right now. I mean, so if one of them wipes out, you're going to take out, I did CrossFit today, y'all, so it's like.
It's not the CrossFit.
Oh, okay. Anyway, back to the wrecks. All the cars are when they're that close and you get one that spins out, of course it's going to take out the rest of the cars. Then they just pile up behind them, and they're all running that close. I mean, I remember being back in the day whenever the cars were so spread out. It's almost like the competition is so even right now. The competition's been evened up so much, but it used to be back in the day, you know, you'd have cars taking off, and then you have some running in the back. Even though we did have a couple of different packs running in that race, but whenever we bunch them up, here's the other thing: you do the stage racing. So in each stage, you go ahead and you bunch the cars back together again, and whenever you bunch them back together, of course, you're bringing them all back together again. And they're also doing a lot of the bump drafting, you know, which helps the car in front of you. And when you bump him forward a little bit, then the next car can kind of suck up to the back of him. So anytime you have that bumping going on, you're taking a chance on spinning a car out. And you definitely don't want to bump in the turns, but they're still doing it, you know. And then you get some you get some rookies in there, and or guys with less experience. Let's say you wouldn't see Joey Logano maybe making stupid moves or stupid bumps because he's very good at doing that, plate racing. And
Because the cars are so much more alike now.
he's a very experienced driver. Yeah, the cars are a lot alike now, so they can all run together. Well, and you know, back in the day, you had different engine horsepower, and the way that they would compensate for the different horsepowers, they would, you know, raise the spoiler angle. They would change the spoiler angle, range the spoiler heights. They would do all these things, the front valence adjustments, to try to get the cars. You know, you had Ford, Pontiac, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile. You know, try to get all those cars more even back in the day, and now they're all pretty even. You know, so they just kind of have to go with the. So anyway, so Rachel had a couple questions. Did she have any more questions on here?
Not yet.
Okay. So Rachel says we are not happy about Michael McDowell. I know. I heard from some of the guys at my work today. We're kind of talking about that. You know, why did he do that? So I don't know. You know, maybe he's just like he said. He took out the whole Ford being teammates at the time, apparently, and forgot about going with the Ford teammates, which I've seen other drivers do it in the past. So, you know, they are out there to win the race. They're out there to win. It's all, they're out there to win for themselves. You know, somebody, I don't remember if it's Chase Elliott. No, it was one of the rookies said, I would wreck my grandmother to win that race. So, yeah. Yeah, I know, Scott. My hair's a mess. I did CrossFit today. Here. Is that better? Is that better, Tracy?
Mine's behind.
She's a critic of mine. She don't like me wearing hats anyway. So, yeah. So, in a sad note, though, we heard Doyle Ford passing away this past week. So, I never got to know Doyle Ford. Let's see, I believe he took over after Harold Kinder? I worked with Kinder's son. Yeah, he was the flagman for a long time. And then Doyle Ford took over for him. So Tom Robinson says he is never up front anyway, so he didn't know what to do. And Nancy Davis says, I made it. Sorry I'm late. You're cute no matter what. Well, thank you so much. Maybe you can tell Tracy that. Remind her of that. But
Stop it.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Tell Scott that. Beer Man. So Beer Man's been down in Daytona all week. No, wait a minute. He's been down in Daytona for the past 2 months, I believe it is. And then he ended up getting in his boat, I think from Stewart, and cruising on up to Daytona. Then he went to the track and hung out. And so did our buddy Scott Crow. He ended up, I guess he sponsored Jordan Anderson's truck in the truck series. And then he was cruising around in the golf cart with Kenny Wallace and hanging out at the campgrounds and stuff. He was sending me some videos. Looked like he was having a good time. He's on Twitter as well as I am. I'm at DHammiam on Twitter. So check me out at DHammiam on Twitter. And also we have a NASCAR Country Twitter page, in case you didn't know that, because that's something I started to kind of accompaniment with this YouTube, and also the Facebook NASCAR Country page. So go on there and check that out. I believe you'll like a lot of the pictures that we post daily, every morning, usually in the evenings too. So does anybody have any questions? Go ahead and answer your questions. And while you're at it, if you like this video, go ahead and click like and subscribe to my channel, by the way. And that way you hit the bell notifications, and then you can stay up to date. And we'll have these NASCAR chats on Monday evenings at 7:30 every Monday evening, the day after the race. And you can ask me questions about NASCAR, my experiences as a jackman. I was the jackman. I traveled from 95 to 2001, and I was a jackman from 96 to 2001. Started out with Kyle Petty, 96, then Robbie Gordon and Joe Nemechek in 97, 98 Sterling Marlin, 99 Sterling Marlin, 2000 part of the time Sterling Marlin, but with Blaze Alexander in the Busch Series, and then 2001 in the Busch Series with the Channel Lock car. But we had a bunch of different drivers that year, so too many that I can remember. Ron Hornaday, Todd Bodine, Marty Houston, a bunch of different ones. So, but yeah, I think that outcome, Paul, you're right. That would have been good if Michael would have pushed Joey up to the front, helped him out there, and then he would have. I believe he could have won the race because Joey was definitely strong. He was one of the stronger Fords. All the Fords were strong, but they got in the wrecks. You know, I don't know what Boyer got up there. Let's see, Boyer got up. He was going, I guess, for third position, and he didn't quite clear Bowman, I think it was. He was passing. But he made a heck of a move, dived down to the inside, and got up to maybe another foot if he'd have just gone a little bit further. But he started moving up the track, and then it took himself right out of the race. So, and then I believe right after that, right before that, the 4 car got taken out. So they were 2 strong Fords. If they would have been up there with Logano, it would have been a different outcome. But it just wasn't in the cards.
About the alliance between Toyota and Chevy.
All right, Rachel says, what do you say about the Ford teams in addressing the alliance between Toyota and Chevy, Gibbs and Hendricks? We need the Fords to unite. Well, I think that, hey, if they want to unite, go for it. But, okay, so it might have, I don't know that really worked out for them this time. I think that the Toyotas were, this particular race, everything worked out good for them. Maybe they had J.D. Gibbs looking down, helping them out. Who knows? But that was worked out good for them in this particular race. But I think that as far as uniting, I did hear something about that, the Fords and the Chevrolets, but the Toyotas and Chevrolets, but I don't think that's going to last very long, because I really don't think that the Toyota, as competitive as they are, would be very happy to hear that, especially if they were actually helping the Chevrolets, because they have their own teams to take care of. They got their hands full. But what's good about it, the whole thing is, it's good that we're in a position that other teams feel like they have to unite to beat us. Think about that. So we have the strongest teams in NASCAR. We have Stewart-Haas, and we have Penske, and hopefully Rouse is going to come back. We got Ryan Newman this year, and Stenhouse usually does pretty good. So we'll see how that works out. We got Front Row, and they got some pretty good, strong cars. They've gotten their stuff a lot better over the years. So they actually moved into the old Savco building down in Mooresville from Statesville, because they've been up at Statesville in the old Kel Yarborough building for many years. But now their fab shop's still up there, and they moved their car shop down in the old Savco building, which is where I was whenever we first moved up here in 1996. And yes, Rachel, we are Ford tough, so don't forget that. They're not going to keep us down long. So we'll see how it goes at Atlanta, because this is going to be the first race with the tapered spacer, with a new package, and also with the, we have the 550, 750 horsepower package that we're going to be running from now on. So that was actually the last restrictor plate track. That's hard to say for some reason. But that was the last restrictor plate race. So basically what that entails is, I'll show you an example here. All right, you see this envelope. This is probably about the size of a restrictor plate. And the restrictor plate has the 4 holes in it. Okay, well now we're going to the tapered spacer, and it's about this thick, and it's got 4 holes in it. And it's tapered, but it still cuts back on the amount of air that can go into the engine, thereby lowering the horsepower. I was describing it on the radio the other night as, just imagine if you go for a jog and you have a straw in your mouth and you're having to breathe through only the straw. So you're only going to go as far as the oxygen that you can feed your muscles. So the same way the air feeds an engine, it can only go as far as how much air gets in the engine. And that's how NASCAR is going to try to keep even the field, I guess you could say, and make for better racing. Try to get away from some of the pack racing, but just make it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the rest of the season will tell. Maybe it'll bring the fans back. Maybe the racing will be better. We won't be a lot of snooze fest like you hear in the past. So even the field. So I think I see some questions coming in here. Rachel says, what do you think of the Mustangs replacing the Ford Fusions? Oh, I absolutely love the Mustang. I think the Mustang looks great on the track. I think that they probably should have done that years ago, because you see more Mustangs, and when you see the Mustangs out on the streets, the Mustang stands out, and the Mustang's legendary. I mean, it's been around 50, how many years now? 50, 60 years, something like that. I mean, I have a 66 Mustang, but of course it needs a lot of work. It's a work in progress, but yeah, I definitely like the idea of the Mustang. And so, what else we got? How do you think the new package will go? I think it's going to be good, especially I think it'll be good for the Ford Mustang. It's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully we'll have a repeat of last year. I mean, we ended up winning, let's see, 23, I think 23 races and 21 regular season races. And I believe you add the All-Star and the Busch Class in there. So now that we got these plate tracks out of the way, we'll see how it goes with that. So yeah, I love the Mustangs too. And then, 55 years this year. Thanks, Linda. And Paul Rodriguez says, Boyer cut the nose off of David Reagan and caused the crash. That also took out the fork, Harvick. Okay, I was trying to remember when did Harvick actually leave the race. So I couldn't remember if it was the same time that Boyer wrecked that it took out the fork car. But yeah, that just not really good. So yeah, it does look like a great race car. Anthony Flynn, what's up, big guy? How can I play the harmonica as good as you? You're the truth. I should have. Tracy, where's my harmonica? All right, I've been told no to the harmonica. Is anybody else got any questions, Tracy, that you can see? No more questions. All right, so I think I already covered the questions that Rachel had said, but don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click like on this if you like it. And subscribe to DHammiam on Twitter. And check us out on Facebooks at NASCAR Country. Okay. So anyway, I'm just kind of filling in while anybody has any more questions to ask. You can also ask Anthony. He works there too. So subscribe to his channel. He'll be on here. Hopefully he'll join us more often. I think this is the second time he's joined us.
I'm still waiting for that money for the lottery ticket.
Tracy said she's still waiting on that money for the lottery ticket. How about that? And yes, right, Robert Alejandro, go Ford, go Logano. And thank you for joining us, Robert. It's good to see you. All right, any more questions? Throw them at me. So Anthony says, hey, I'm still trying to get my luck on those scratch-offs. So, all right, Robert says, Tom, just because NASCAR mandates 550 horsepower, that don't mean you have to keep the motor at 550. If you all find more power under these rules, you're going to go with it.
Of course.
Of course, absolutely. Just like in the past, I remember, I remember racing against Robert Yates engines back in the day. I'm talking 20 years ago, and all of our drivers would always used to say, "Oh, you need them Yates horsepower." But we had, we did pretty good with our stuff. We had, I was actually working on Chevrolets back in the day, but we used to be at a 14-to-1 compression, so we had pistons with domes on them and all that stuff. Then NASCAR cut it back to 12-to-1. I believe that was somewhere around 98, probably 1998. And now they're kind of cutting back a little bit, and I think they're working on that Gen 7 car and engine package for the Gen 7, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I don't think any engines from any brand blew up, Paul. What do I think about it? What's it like to be a celebrity, Nancy says.
She says, what do you think about the new package?
What do you think about the new package? Do I like the new package? I don't know yet, because actually we haven't. I like the new Mustang, but we'll see about the new package after Atlanta. I'll be interested to see how that race goes. And Atlanta is one of the fastest tracks that I've ever been to. So when I was pitting at Atlanta, the pit road's sort of close to the track, but that's whenever I always say you can tell the big boys from the little boys at that track, because when those cars go by and they're hammered down on that throttle, they are flying, trust me. So so we'll see. I guess they'll be a little bit slower, but we'll see. I don't know. The new package begins at Atlanta, which will be this Sunday. But that's a good question. Ask me that next Monday, and then I'll have a better answer for you. So, has Tracy been practicing her singing? You know what? She sang a little bit for me What song did you sing? Ring of Fire? Yeah. Hey, Brian Pellier's watching in. He's also works at Roush Yates, so
How does he say his name?
I see it on here. He said we had some bullets this weekend. He just got back from. He went down to Daytona, him and Chris. So yeah. Scott says, "Are you going to play your banjo?" Not this time, Scott. I don't have any help. You know, if you were talking, carrying on, then I could go get my banjo and play it. But no music this time. Not unless Tracy wants to bring it to me. Tracy says no music, so we're not doing that. So Pelletier is a good way to say it. Pelletier. It's French. Good day, mate. Right?
Peltier. Peltier.
Oh, Pelletier. He said Pelletier. Pelletier. I can do that. All right. And can you show
Stop it, Scott.
Scott? Shame on you. All right. Brad spun backwards for quite a distance. Will you have to use that bad boy again? Ooh, that's a good question because a lot of times, especially if the engine's stalled and he didn't push the clutch in, it'll suck dirt and trash back into the engine. So I'll tell you what we can do is we can go in there and bore scope and check the cylinders to see if there's any scratches on the cylinders, and that'll kind of tell us if if there's debris sitting on top of the pistons, if there's rocks and tire rubber, stuff like that sitting on top of the pistons or in the intake. That's kind of usually what we'll say, okay, this engine can't be used again. But we do get, I don't remember the exact number, but we have to run, I don't remember if it was 13 or if that was in the Bush series, but all right, so Scott Crow's watching in, but he can hear us, but he can't see us. Hopefully he's seen our hat sponsor there.
Rachel Rodman says, what factors do you consider in building an engine for Daytona, such as track conditions, weather, etc.?
Well, we don't take, so when we're building engines for Daytona, we don't take the weather into consideration. I mean, well,
With it being hot,
I say that.
That's tire conditions.
The weather comes into factor when you go to tuning the engine. So, you know, if it's colder, you're going to add more fuel. If it's not as cold, you're not going to have as much fuel. These things are electronic fuel injected now, so we have oxygen sensors, and you know, the computer reads off of all the different inputs from the different sensors, so coolant temperature and manifold absolute pressure, all that stuff. So it's kind of controlled by itself, if that makes any sense to you. It's not like back in the days with the carburetors. You know, you would go and you do, let's say, plug checks, and then you take into consideration the barometric pressure and the temperature and all that stuff, and you could change jets in the carburetor, and you could adjust auto mixture screws, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's what we used to do back in the day. But with it being fuel injection, they're actually much more fuel efficient, and it takes some of the tuning out of them. But you still do it with the computer now, or you do it now with the computer. So, all right. If anybody has any more questions, shoot now, or forever hold your peace, or save them till next Monday. The other option is whenever this video is over, you can go on and ask questions, and I'll come back and answer because I get notifications on my phone. So you can ask me questions anytime you want to. Just go back on this video and ask away, and if I can answer them, I'll answer them. Now, some of it, I can't get too technical with the engine stuff, and some of the stuff I can just give my opinions, but I'll do what I can do. I love the fans, and I appreciate all y'all for watching and tuning in, and so y'all just watch again next Monday, and don't forget to like this channel and subscribe, or like this video and subscribe. And you have a good night too, Tom. And go on to Tracy's channel, I am DHammiam, and subscribe to hers too. She's trying to get her subscriber count up. She's doing a lot of the scratch videos, which is, you know, she enjoys doing that, so I support her with that.
Which kind of engine do you prefer, fuel injected or carburetor?
Which kind of engine do I prefer, fuel injection or carburetor? I like fuel injection myself. That's where my background is in automotive. As a dealership technician, my first 5 years in the industry was 30 years ago, and I was a dealership technician for 5 years, and so I learned all about the fuel injection stuff. You know, the carburetors are okay, but you can't hook a computer to the carburetor and see what it's doing. You know, if the fuel levels, anyway, I'll get into all that, but it's definitely for whatever reason, it's a little easier for me to do the fuel injection because I could see the numbers and see what I do better with seeing numbers versus just seeing fuel sloshing around. So
Trevison says that they're Roush Yates, racing engines for boats yet.
it's their Roush Yates racing engines for boats yet. There has been in the past. I bet you there's some out there. I'm pretty sure there's still some out there, but I haven't. We don't do those anymore. I know that much because we used to do drag racing engines too. So y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for all the questions, and tune in again next Monday night. We'll send out a link once again, but next Monday night at 7:30 after the Atlanta race, and we'll be back on here. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Ford victory. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.